let me update my Facebook status real quick. Thank you for laughing. Why did the chicken cross the road twice? Because he was a double crosser. Compliments of one of the many books in the collection of joke books from my father. I thought it was appropriate, as Pastor so eloquently pointed out, that our father was indeed a jokester. On behalf of Heather, my sister, myself, and our families, we want to thank everyone for being here today to help us honor and remember our father, Bob Meyer. Throughout the remarks that I'm making, Heather has some photos that she's going to show. I forgot, so I apologize. I forgot that there was this beautiful slideshow going. There may be some duplicates, but chances are in the photos that Heather's got, there may be some photos that aren't over there. So there will be plenty to keep your eyes stimulated throughout the presentation. So yeah, start showing the photos now. Okay, thanks. Awesome. Thank you especially to Pastor Elliott and the staff at St. John, Sarah and the staff at Fallman and Walsh, David and the staff here at Infinity Hall. Losing a loved one is never easy. Throw into the mix the circumstances and complications around the pandemic, coronavirus, COVID, and, well, here we are. Once a loved one dies, there's so much to take care of. Thankfully, Dad and Mom had done so much to prepare us for this time. Wouldn't you say? Again, our unending gratitude to all who made this difficult time and these unprecedented times more manageable. In addition to the extreme gratitude for those I mentioned before, we're deeply grateful for those who helped to take care of the details around wrapping up things at the house. We especially want to say our extreme gratitude to our aunt and uncle, Carl and Barb. Where are you? Right here up front, for all of the help and assistance that you gave to us. Also to Jim and Chris Mish, where are you? Back over here. And to Don and Sarah Roth, and to Pam Stout from Real Estate One. Your support means the world to us. It's been 307 days since the doctor at St. John's Hospital called me and said that COVID had done its worst and Dad was gone. Scott and I had just left Plum Market, where we had gone to pick up some snacks, and we were preparing to take a hike in the woods at one of our favorite local parks. We thought a bit of time in nature and some fresh air would do good as we awaited the inevitable. As the phone rang, Scott instinctively knew what was coming and drove us home immediately so that we could call Heather, inform our family, and begin to make preparations. Those first phone calls and texts would set into motion the events that would eventually bring us to a private viewing at Fallman and Walsh, just a few steps away from here, with just us kids and our families. A small burial service with our family, surrounded by our father's siblings and their spouses, and eventually lead us to where we are here today. It's been said that mourning is our in-the-moment expression of loss, but grief is something that you experience for the rest of your life. Certainly these last nearly 2 years of the pandemic, we've had much to mourn, and we do continue to grieve. But today, we're here to celebrate, to remember, and give thanks for Bob Meyer, our father, your brother, uncle, cousin, nephew, co-worker, and friend. I thought for sure Dad would get a big chuckle out of the prospect of me, of all people, trying to synthesize all that one might say about him into a succinct speech, so I hope you all are comfortable. I've chosen to share a few Bob anecdotes by following an acrostic using the letters of his name, R-O-B-E-R-T. So, the first R stands for referee, and along with that I'll include umpire or official. Dad was a registered official with the Michigan State High School Athletic Association for 32 years. The last game he officiated was just a week before he went into the hospital. He umpired and refereed countless baseball, softball, and volleyball games. Many games were officiated near home, especially at the park across the street from our family's home. But it wasn't uncommon for Dad to travel as much as an hour to referee a game or to umpire a doubleheader. The O stands for onlooker. You may think that that's an odd term, but the term onlooker is another word for fan. As displayed by the amazing show of maize and blue around this room, it needs no explanation that Dad was an avid sports fan. From hockey to baseball and bowling, softball to NASCAR, from basketball to wrestling. Remember those odd years when our whole family got interested in WWF? I even got Dad to attend a few gymnastics events with me when I was following college gymnastics a few years ago. For several years, during our years growing up at Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School, Dad coached or helped coach various teams. One year, a very remarkable year, his girls' basketball team were the undefeated champions, winning 8 games and losing none. And we have all sorts of evidence to prove it. And of course, we can't forget to mention Dad's unchallenged love for University of Michigan sports, especially U of M football. Go Blue. I'm curious, how many people here, by a show of hands, attended a game with Dad? Quite a few. The B stands for blood donor. You might not know that our dad was a dedicated blood donor. According to the Red Cross's latest records, Dad began giving blood December 26th of 1992, although I would venture a guess, and I think that in my memory I remember him doing it much earlier than that. Due to health issues and of course because of COVID, Dad's last donation was January 23rd of 2019. And the Red Cross's records say that over his lifetime, he gave 138 units of life-giving blood. That's almost 17 gallons. The E stands for employee and entrepreneur. Dad's first job was working for 2 brothers at Fraser Drugs. Brothers and sisters, am I saying that correctly? Fraser Drugs was located on Fraser Road, about a mile from the house that he grew up in. This first job, ready for this? Paid him 90 cents an hour. And he was expected to work every other day. This is how he described his work schedule. If you worked on Saturday night, you were also on for Sunday, and then your week began on Tuesday. And if you worked on Saturday during the day after working on Friday, then you were off until Monday. He worked there for 3 years, and when he left, his hourly pay was a whopping $1.10 per hour. I'm sure there were many other jobs interspersed in there, and then, of course, his time in the military. After his time in the military, Dad worked for Michigan Bell at Gratiot and 11 Mile Road, taking payments, and eventually worked up to a management position in the service costs department. Then, when Ameritech took over Michigan Bell, he, along with several others, got downsized in a devastating move by the new company's management. While this was difficult for him, he didn't let this stop him. He worked in several capacities after this time, from financial advising to third-party road testing. How he survived that, I don't know. To lunchroom aide at St. Thomas, started his own printing business, and of course, continued with his officiating. Through it all, Dad continued to have faith that the Lord would provide for him and for our family. And this is something that has always inspired me about my dad, and has served to support and bolster me during the changes and challenges of my own life. And this is the perfect segue to the next letter, another R, which I have chosen to say stands for redeemed. Dad was born to Millie and Bill Meyer on January 30th, 1950 at Grace Hospital, room 215, bed 4. He was baptized at Trinity Lutheran Church, Utica on March 5th, 1950, and he made his confirmation at St. Mark the Evangelist in St. Clair Shores on March 22nd, 1964. Beyond that, if you knew my dad, you knew that his faith and his family were important to him. From serving on boards and committees to volunteering as an usher, or to serving communion at Bethlehem Lutheran in Roseville, St. Thomas Lutheran in East Point, and most recently, St. John here in Fraser. He was always doing something for church. Dad wasn't a preacher or a great public speaker, but you could see his faith lived out in his daily life. Without words, you could see the faith that was formed in those early years of church school, fostered by his loving and faithful parents and lived out in the commitments that quietly spoke of the importance of his faith. And you can hear some of this also described in his own words. We're very blessed that several years ago, for Father's Day, we gave Dad a subscription to Storyworth that sent him a question each week to answer, which he answered and we've compiled in this book. And so when we asked him, what would you consider your motto? He said this: I would say my motto is God, family, and country. God is first in everything. Family is only second to God. My family is everything to me. I love them with all my heart and would do anything for them. Last but not least is country. I serve with honor and will defend it with honor. Finally, we have T, which I've chosen the word thrifty. At the risk of transitioning from memorial speech to roast, it even says pause for laughter. Dad was thrifty. He knew the value of $1, and he respected the hard work that went into earning a paycheck. He honored that, and in the difficult years when he was changing jobs, he somehow knew how to provide. And an added layer of his thriftiness, when we were cleaning out the house, we found many items of what we fondly now are referring to as Dad's collections. Tax return paperwork that went back to the 80s. Duplicate copies of his high school yearbooks, one for autographs and one to be kept in pristine condition, for posterity's sake, no doubt. Letters home and letters to our mother from his time in the military, and let's not forget Dad's immense vinyl record collection. In these seemingly simple treasures, his thrifty saving and collecting, we see the story of his life, and in them we see the perfect portrayal of what he wrote here. When asked, what advice would you give your great-grandchildren? The advice I would give my future great-grandchildren is to get your priorities in order. God first, family second, and then friends. If you put God first, the other will fall into place. If you treat people with love and respect, then people will treat you the same. And when you do anything, always fulfill your commitment and always give 100%. One last thing. Try to find an occupation you love. If you love what you're doing, it won't seem like work, and you will be a happy person both at work and at home. There isn't enough time to fully memorialize the man that you knew as your brother, your uncle, cousin, nephew, coworker, and friend, the man we call our dad. This exercise of recalling some of Dad's finer and more memorable characteristics certainly misses the mark of being comprehensive. After all, I haven't even mentioned Dad's affinity and love for Beaver Island, and his undying love and commitment to our mother, which we saw displayed so profoundly in these last few years after Mom passed. In addition, on this, the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on our country, it's fitting that we also mention and give thanks for our dad's service to this country in the U.S. Army. We give thanks for and honor his service and the service of all those who have served our country, those who are actively serving, especially those who were recently involved in situations in Afghanistan. And now I have one last joke to share. There's a theme here. What do chickens study for? Exams. Other than that, I think the only best way to close this is to say simply, go blue.
Go blue.